Have you ever felt like your mind is a radio station that never stops broadcasting? Static, noise, endless chatter about things that haven't happened yet, or things you can't change from the past? Right now, as I'm speaking to you, I can almost feel some of you nodding your heads, maybe even feeling that familiar tightness in your chest. That constant mental noise that follows you everywhere to bed at night, creeping into your dreams and greeting you first thing in the morning like an unwelcome visitor who's overstayed their welcome for years. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Close your eyes if you can safely do so. Imagine your mind as a beautiful, spacious library. But right now, there are papers scattered everywhere, books thrown open randomly, voices echoing from every corner, and you can't find the one book you actually need. The book called Peace. What if I told you that this very moment, right here, right now, could be the beginning of the most peaceful relationship you'll ever have with your own mind? What if in the next 20 minutes you could learn tools that will quiet that mental storm forever? Hello, my beautiful, brave souls, and welcome to Inner Light, the podcast where we journey together toward mental clarity, emotional freedom, and the kind of peace that surpasses all understanding. I'm your host, John, and my personal mission, my heart's deepest calling, is this simple but profound truth. Every mind can be free. You just need to learn the right tools. Today, I have someone truly extraordinary with me, Dr. Clara Scott, not just a psychologist with over 20 years of experience helping thousands of people, but someone who has walked through his own mental storms and emerged with profound wisdom about how to declutter our minds. Clara has literally saved lives with the techniques we're going to share today. Clara, welcome, my dear friend.
John, thank you so much for having me. You know, sitting here right now, I'm actually feeling a mix of excitement and deep responsibility because I know how desperately people need these tools. In my 20 years of practice, I've seen too many brilliant, beautiful, talented humans trapped in their own mental prisons, and it breaks my heart every single time. When you invited me on this podcast, I stayed up until 2 a.m. the night before, not because I was anxious, but because I was so energized thinking about all the people we might be able to help today.
Clara, before we dive into this life-changing conversation, I need to share something vulnerable with our listeners, because I believe healing happens in honesty. For years, and I mean years, I was a prisoner of my own thoughts. I would lie awake at 3 a.m., heart racing like I'd just run a marathon, mind spinning like a tornado, creating elaborate worst-case scenarios about presentations at work, about relationships, about my future, about conversations I had 5 years ago. There were nights I would cry from pure exhaustion, not physical exhaustion, but mental exhaustion from battling my own thoughts. I felt like I was drowning in my own mind, like there was a mean, critical voice living in my head that never took a vacation, never had a day off from telling me everything I was doing wrong. I remember one particularly dark night. I actually Googled how to turn off your brain at 4 a.m. I was so desperate for silence, for peace, that I would have paid any amount of money just to experience what it felt like to have a quiet mind for 5 minutes.
John, the courage it takes to share. That's exactly why people need to hear this conversation. Because you're describing what I call the silent epidemic of our time. In my practice, I'd say 95% of my clients come to me with some version of what you just described. What you're describing isn't weakness, isn't a character flaw, isn't something wrong with you. It's actually a normal response to living in a world that's become increasingly overwhelming, where we're bombarded with more information in one day than our great-grandparents processed in a month. Let me share something that might absolutely shock you, and I want everyone to really listen to this. The average human brain processes between 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Let me put that in perspective. That's roughly one thought every 1.2 seconds from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. But here's the kicker, and this is where it gets really disturbing. Research from the National Science Foundation shows that about 80% of these thoughts are negative, and 95% are repetitive from the day before. So you're literally recycling the same negative thoughts day after day after day. Imagine if I asked you to carry a backpack filled with 56,000 heavy stones every single day, and 95% of those stones were the exact same stones from yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. No wonder we feel exhausted. No wonder we feel like we're drowning.
Oh my God, Clara, that's actually terrifying when you put it that way. I can literally feel my chest tightening just thinking about it.
But here's the beautiful, liberating truth. John, and I want everyone listening to really absorb this into your bones. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the sky, not the clouds. You are the ocean, not the waves. There's a conscious you that can step back and watch the mental chatter, like you're sitting on a park bench, watching cars drive by. You don't have to get in every car. You don't have to go where every car is going. You can just sit there and watch. Let me tell you about my absolute darkest moment, because I think it's important for people to know that even therapists, even people who are supposed to have it together, go through hell sometimes. It was October 2008, right in the middle of the financial crisis. I lost everything, and I mean everything. My savings, my investment in a group practice, even my home. I remember sitting in my 1997 Honda Civic outside a Starbucks at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and my mind was like a broken record playing the absolute worst hits. You're a complete failure. You should have known better. Your family will never respect you again. You're supposed to be the one who helps people, and you can't even help yourself. Everyone's going to find out you're a fraud. But it got worse. My mind started creating these elaborate scenarios. You'll never recover from this. You'll be homeless. Your wife will leave you. Your children will be ashamed of you. You'll die alone and broke. I sat there for 4 hours, John. 4 hours of pure mental torture. I didn't eat. I didn't drink water. I didn't move. I was paralyzed by my own thoughts. And that's when I had what I can only describe as an awakening. I realized something profound. The financial crisis was over for everyone else. The market was stabilizing, life was moving on, but the crisis was still raging in my mind. The external storm had passed, but I was keeping it alive, feeding it, nurturing it with my thoughts.
Clara, how did you break free from that mental prison? What was the turning point?
I started treating my thoughts like weather patterns. Storm clouds come, they rage, they pour rain, lightning strikes, thunder roars. But then, they pass. They always pass. The sky remains. The sky is eternal, infinite, unchanging. My mind was the sky, not the storms passing through it. Let me teach everyone listening a technique that literally saved my sanity, and I've taught it to thousands of clients since then. I call it the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. This works whether you're having a panic attack, spiraling with worry, or just feeling mentally overwhelmed. Right now, wherever you are, driving, walking, sitting at home, lying in bed, I want you to engage your 5 senses to anchor yourself to this present moment. Name 5 things you can see. Really look at them. Notice details, colors, shapes. Name 4 things you can physically touch. Feel their texture, temperature, weight. Name 3 things you can hear. Maybe birds, traffic, your own heartbeat. Name 2 things you can smell, even if it's just the air you're breathing. Name 1 thing you can taste, even if it's just the lingering taste of coffee or gum.
Okay, I'm doing this right now with you. I can see the microphone, the notebook with my handwriting on my desk, that plant in the corner that I need to water, the window with raindrops on it, and that framed picture of my grandmother. I can touch this soft cashmere sweater I'm wearing, the smooth wooden surface of this desk, my warm ceramic coffee mug, and, oh, the cool metal of my pen. Clara, I can literally feel my breathing slowing down, my shoulders dropping. It's like my whole nervous system just downshifted. This is incredible.
Exactly. You just pulled your mind from wherever it was wandering, probably thinking about how this interview is going, or what you'll say next, or wondering if you sound intelligent, and anchored it to the present moment. This is where peace lives, John. Not in the past, not in the future, but right here, right now. What you just experienced is called grounding. And it works because anxiety and worry cannot exist in the present moment. They only exist when we're mentally time traveling to the past or future. When you bring your attention to what you can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste right now, you're essentially hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Clara, I want to ask you something that I know our listeners desperately struggle with, because I struggle with it too. When work stress and life pressures build up, when I have deadlines and bills and relationship issues all hitting at once, my mind becomes like a washing machine stuck on the spin cycle. It just won't stop. The thoughts are going so fast I can't even identify individual thoughts anymore. What do we do when we feel completely overwhelmed like that?
The washing machine mind. I absolutely love that analogy. You know what? I'm going to start using that with my clients because it perfectly captures that feeling of mental chaos. There's actually a neurological reason for this overwhelming feeling. When we're stressed, our bodies produce excess cortisol, the stress hormone. This literally shrinks the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain responsible for rational thinking, decision-making, and emotional regulation. At the same time, it enlarges the amygdala, our brain's fear center. So you literally become less capable of thinking clearly while becoming more reactive to perceived threats. Here's what I teach my clients when they're in washing machine mode. I call it the stop method, and it's designed to interrupt the cycle. S, stop what you're doing. Literally, physically stop. T, take 3 deep, conscious breaths. O, observe what you're thinking and feeling without trying to change it or judge it. P, proceed with intention rather than reaction. But let me share something even more powerful that I discovered during my own recovery. The 4-7-8 breathing technique. This was developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, and it's like a natural tranquilizer for your nervous system. Here's how it works. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold that breath for 7 counts. Then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 counts. The exhalation should make a whooshing sound. Do this 4 times in a row.
Let's do this together. Inhaling for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And exhaling for 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Clara, this is absolutely incredible. I feel like I just took a mental shower. My whole body feels different.
Beautiful. And here's the science behind why this works so powerfully. That extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's rest and digest mode. It literally sends a signal to your brain saying, "We're safe now. You can relax." Now, let me address something that's crucial, but often overlooked: the impact of toxic relationships and environments on our mental clutter. John, in your healing journey, have you noticed how certain people or places seem to drain your mental energy, leaving you feeling exhausted and anxious, even when nothing bad has happened?
Oh, absolutely, Clara. This is something I'm still learning to navigate. I had a colleague, let's call her Sarah, who was like an emotional vampire. Every single conversation was a complaint session about how unfair life was, how terrible her relationships were, how nothing ever went right for her. The weird thing was, Sarah wasn't mean to me, she wasn't abusive or obviously toxic. But after every conversation with her, I would feel emotionally drained, like my mental battery had been completely depleted. I would actually need to take a nap after lunch conversations with her, because interacting with her was so exhausting. For the longest time, I felt guilty about this because she was just sharing, and I'm supposed to be a supportive friend, right? But I started dreading seeing her name on my phone or running into her at work.
What you're describing is what I call emotional contagion, or energy vampirism. And the guilt you felt is so common, John. We're taught that being a good person means being endlessly available to others. But that's actually not healthy for anyone involved. I had to end a 15-year friendship because every interaction left me feeling depleted, anxious, and depressed for days afterward. This person wasn't abusive in obvious ways, but they were stuck in victim mentality and would drain every conversation into their drama and chaos. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. I grieved that friendship like a death, but my mental health was literally depending on it. My wife noticed that I would be in a bad mood for days after hanging out with this person. My children were getting a version of their father, who was stressed and irritable.
Oh, Clara, that must have been so painful. How did you make that decision?
I realized that I can't save someone from drowning if they're pulling me underwater too. Sometimes loving someone means loving them from a distance. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone who's stuck in negative patterns is to stop enabling those patterns by being their emotional dumping ground. Here's what I teach my clients about relationship boundaries. Your mental energy is like a bank account. Some people make deposits. They leave you feeling energized, inspired, supported. Others make withdrawals. They leave you feeling drained, anxious, depleted. You need to pay attention to your emotional bank balance.
That's such a practical way to think about it. What about family relationships, though? Those can be the most challenging because you can't just walk away.
Family relationships are definitely more complex. You might not be able to cut contact completely, but you can still set boundaries. You can limit the time you spend, change the subjects you're willing to discuss, or even just mentally prepare yourself differently. I teach something called the gray rock method for dealing with toxic family members. You become as uninteresting as a gray rock. You give short, neutral responses, don't share personal information, and don't take the bait when they try to drag you into drama. But let's shift to something more positive: the power of your physical environment on your mental state. Your surroundings are constantly communicating with your nervous system, and most people have no idea how much their environment affects their mental clarity.
Really? How so? I never thought about my environment having that much impact.
Oh, it's absolutely fascinating. There's extensive research on environmental psychology. For example, the color blue can lower blood pressure and heart rate by up to 10%. Natural light increases serotonin production, which is why people often feel depressed in winter. Plants actually purify the air and reduce cortisol levels by up to 15%. But here's what really blew my mind. Clutter in your physical space creates measurable stress in your body. UCLA researchers did brain scans of people in cluttered versus organized environments, and they found that clutter literally elevates cortisol levels. Your environment is constantly talking to your nervous system, either saying, "Relax, you're safe," or "Be alert, something's wrong here." Here's a simple exercise that will blow your mind. Tonight before bed, spend just 15 minutes cleaning and organizing one small area of your living space. Just one drawer, one corner of a room, one shelf. As you organize that physical space, pay attention to what happens in your mental space. You'll notice your mind becoming clearer, calmer, more focused.
I'm absolutely trying this tonight. Clara, let me ask you about something that I know affects millions of our listeners. Chronic worry. I'm talking about people who worry about worrying, who are anxious about being anxious. How do we break that vicious cycle?
The meta-worry. The worry about worry. The anxiety about anxiety. The fear of fear. It's like being trapped in a hall of mirrors, where each reflection gets more distorted and terrifying. Here's a statistic that literally changed my life and the lives of thousands of my clients. The University of Cincinnati did a study tracking people's worries over time. They found that 85% of what people worry about never happens. Never happens. But here's the even more incredible part. For the 15% of worries that did materialize, 79% of people reported that they handled the situation better than they expected, and that the experience taught them valuable lessons about their own resilience. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. I once had an 85-year-old patient, let's call her Dorothy, who came to me for anxiety. During our first session, she said something I'll never forget. "Doctor, I'm 85 years old. I've worried about thousands of things in my life. Most of them never happened. The ones that did happen, I survived. And I'm stronger because of them. I've wasted so much precious time worrying instead of living, and I don't want to waste whatever time I have left." Dorothy taught me more in that one session than I learned in years of graduate school. She made me realize that worry is just our mind's attempt to control an uncertain future, but it's actually the most powerless thing we can do.
That's so profound, Clara. It really puts everything in perspective. What practical tools do you give people to break the worry cycle?
Here's one of my most effective techniques. I call it scheduled worry time. It sounds counterintuitive, but it works brilliantly. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes each day at the same time, in the same place, specifically for worrying. I'm serious. Write down all your worries. Examine them. Make action plans for the ones you can control, and acknowledge the ones you can't. But here's the key. Outside of that designated worry time, when anxious thoughts arise throughout the day, you tell them, "I appreciate you trying to protect me, but I'll deal with you at 7 p.m. during my worry time. Right now, I'm choosing to focus on the present moment." And here's another incredibly powerful technique, the best friend test. When you're spiraling with negative self-talk, ask yourself, would I talk to my best friend this way? Would I tell my best friend they're stupid, worthless, or bound to fail? If the answer is no, and it always is, then why are you talking to yourself that way?
Clara, that hits me right in the heart. I would never, ever tell a friend they're stupid or worthless, or that they're going to fail. But I say those exact things to myself multiple times a day. Just yesterday, I made a small mistake at work. Nothing major, just sent an email to the wrong person. And my internal voice immediately started with, "You're so stupid. How could you make such a careless mistake? Everyone's going to think you're incompetent." I would never say those things to someone I love.
John, you are absolutely not alone in this. We are universally our own worst critics. There's actually a term for this: self-compassion deficit. We extend compassion, understanding, and forgiveness to everyone in our lives, except the one person who needs it most: ourselves. Here's the beautiful truth that can transform your life. You can retrain your inner voice every time you catch yourself being cruel to yourself. And the catching is the most important part, because you can't change what you're not aware of. Pause and ask, what would I tell someone I love who was going through this exact situation? Your inner voice doesn't have to be your enemy. It can become your most supportive friend, your wisest advisor, your most compassionate companion. But it takes practice, just like any other skill. Let me share one of my absolute favorite techniques for rewiring the brain toward positivity: the 3 good things practice. This is based on research by Dr. Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania. Every single night before you go to sleep, write down 3 things that went well that day. They can be tiny things, like, "I made a delicious cup of coffee," or "My dog was happy to see me." And then write why you think each good thing happened. This practice literally rewires your brain to notice positivity instead of constantly scanning for threats and problems. After just 1 week of this practice, people report significant improvements in mood and life satisfaction that can last for months.
This is absolutely life-changing, Clara, but I want to ask you about something that I know weighs heavily on many of our listeners. What about people who feel like it's too late for them? People who think they're too old, too stuck in their patterns, too damaged to change.
John, this might be the most important thing I say in this entire interview. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, adapt, and form new neural pathways, doesn't have an expiration date. The idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks is completely, scientifically false. I've worked with clients in their 70s and 80s who completely transformed their mental patterns. I've seen people who had been depressed for decades learn to find joy again. I've witnessed individuals who had been anxious their entire lives develop unshakable inner peace. The brain you have today is not the brain you're stuck with forever. Every thought you think, every behavior you practice, every new skill you learn, literally changes your brain structure. Neuroscientist Dr. Michael Merzenich calls the brain a learning machine, and it never stops being capable of change. I started therapy for my own anxiety and depression when I was 47 years old. 47. I thought I was too set in my ways to change. But in just 6 months of consistent practice with the techniques I'm sharing today, I experienced more peace and happiness than I had in the previous 2 decades combined.
That's incredibly encouraging, Clara. What would you say is the most important first step someone can take today, right now, to begin this transformation?
Start with awareness. That's it. Just for today, I want everyone listening to notice their thoughts without trying to change them, fight them, or judge them. Just notice them. When you have a thought, say to yourself, "I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough," or "I'm having the thought that this won't work out," or "I'm having the thought that I'm too old to change." This simple phrase, "I'm having the thought that," creates space between you and your thoughts. It reminds you that you are the observer, not the thought itself. And please, please remember, progress, not perfection. You don't need to meditate for an hour. You don't need to completely overhaul your life today. You don't need to become a different person by tomorrow. You just need to take one conscious breath. Notice one thought. Make one small positive change. Small changes, practiced consistently, create miraculous transformations over time.
My beautiful, brave souls, what an absolutely transformational journey we've taken together today. I feel like we've been given a treasure chest of life-changing tools. Let me recap the incredible wisdom Clara has shared with us. First, and most importantly, you are not your thoughts. You are the conscious observer of your thoughts, the sky watching the clouds pass by, and this awareness alone can set you free.
Exactly right, John. And second, the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique to bring your mind back to the present moment when it's spinning out of control. Remember, anxiety cannot exist in the present moment.
Third, the stop method when we're overwhelmed. Stop what you're doing, take 3 deep breaths, observe without judgment, and proceed with intention rather than reaction.
Fourth, the 4-7-8 breathing technique that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. This is literally a natural tranquilizer that you carry with you everywhere.
Fifth, the incredible statistic that 85% of what we worry about never happens, and for the 15% that does, we handle it better than expected.
Sixth, the importance of setting boundaries with energy vampires and toxic relationships. Your mental energy is a bank account, and you need to protect it.
Seventh, your physical environment directly impacts your mental state. Clutter creates stress, organization creates calm.
Eighth, the 3 good things. Practice every night to literally rewire your brain for positivity and gratitude.
And perhaps most importantly, the life-changing truth that neuroplasticity means your brain can change at any age. It's never too late to transform your mental patterns.
Remember, everyone, you have survived 100% of your difficult days so far. That's an incredible track record. You're stronger and more resilient than you realize.
Dr. Clara Scott, from the absolute depths of my heart, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your vulnerability, your personal struggles, and these powerful, life-changing tools with us today. I know that you've literally saved lives today. People are going to listen to this conversation, and their lives are going to change forever.
John, it has been such an honor and privilege to be here with you today. To everyone who's listening, please remember that healing is not only possible, it's your birthright. Peace is not a luxury, it's what you deserve. And you, yes, you, have everything within you right now to begin this transformation. Your past does not determine your future. Your thoughts are not facts. Your anxiety is not prophecy. Your current mental state is not permanent. You have more power than you realize.
My incredible listeners, my fellow travelers on this journey toward mental freedom, if this episode has touched your heart, given you hope, or provided you with tools you needed to hear, please show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Your support doesn't just help us reach more people, it literally changes lives. Every like, every subscription, every share helps us get these life-saving tools to someone who desperately needs them. And please share your thoughts, your breakthroughs, your questions in the comments below. Tell me which technique resonated most deeply with you. Or if you try the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method tonight, let me know how it goes. I personally read every single comment, and I promise you, I will respond. Because your healing journey matters to me more than you know. If you know someone, a friend, family member, coworker, neighbor, who's struggling with anxiety, worry, depression, or mental overwhelm, please share this episode with them. Send them the link, play it for them in the car, tell them about it over coffee. Sometimes a single conversation, a single podcast episode, can plant the seed that changes absolutely everything. I want to leave you with the truth that lives in my heart and guides everything I do. Every mind can be free. You just need to learn the right tools. You have everything, and I mean everything within you right now to begin this transformation. I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself yet. I believe in your capacity to heal, to grow, to find peace, to experience joy. You are worthy of a quiet mind. You are worthy of inner peace, and you are worthy of a life free from the tyranny of anxious thoughts. Until our next journey together, be extraordinarily gentle with your beautiful mind. Practice these techniques with patience and self-compassion, and remember, you are not alone in this. Millions of us are walking this path toward mental freedom together. Sweet dreams, beautiful souls. May your minds be quiet, your hearts be light, and your spirits be free.